Okay. All right. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome everyone to our Vesak-themed Sutta study for this afternoon. Happy Vesak to everybody. And also Happy Mother's Day. So these two important holidays align this year, and so we're going to talk about both of them a little bit today. Especially if you happen to be my mother watching on YouTube, as I know you sometimes do. Um, we've been busy with Vesak, but I'm going to call you this evening. So happy Mother's Day. I'm glad you're my mom, and I'll be in touch. um, so, uh, so Vesak is, an important holiday for Theravada Buddhism. This is the date that I'm sure many of you already know, but commemorates the anniversary of the Buddha's three great events in his life: the birth, the enlightenment, and his passing away, his parinibbana. In All are said to have happened under the May full moon this time of year. Um, and so then for Vesak, for our sutta study, I was reflecting on, how do we see these events in the suttas? Where do we find them? Which sutta will I talk about today? Really was the motivating question. But so I looked in the suttas at the various places these various events are talked about, and they're very sort of disparate suttas. Uh, the ones that talk about the awakening and the ones that talk about the birth and the ones that talk about the passing away, they're very sort of stylistically different, very thematically different from each other in certain ways. And so I want to talk about that fact, that they are these sort of different kinds of ways of talking about these great events in the Buddha's life. And to sort of look at some of the different suttas, some of the different ways that this is approached in the ancient texts. And I guess as I was looking through these suttas, just feeling like looking at a jewel through just like different facets, different perspectives on the same great events, different ways of looking, but some sort of core thing there that's being pointed to from various directions. So that's sort of my framing for today, is to present a few of these suttas, and we can all find whichever viewpoint, whichever vantage point it is that lets us see into something about this great event of the awakening. And I will say I was also tasked to bring in the Mother's Day theme. So I was also looking for the suttas that specifically talk about the mothers in the Buddha's life. I know a couple of you were here for our in-person Vesak yesterday, so you've already heard me talk about this a little bit, if so. But for those who were not here yesterday, you get to hear it for the first time. Um, so, so yes, we have this special theme of the Buddha's mothers. He had two mothers who raised him, or well, involved in his childhood at least. There's his birth mother, Mahamaya, Maya Devi, who gave birth to him, and then passed away 7 days later. And then her sister, Mahapajapati, took over as mother. She took the Buddha on, she nursed him, she raised him as her own child, and later became a great bhikkhuni, the first founding mother of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, as well as an arahant. So really, she became fully awakened in her own right at the end of her life, at the age of 80. And so remembering those two mothers, and also wanting to mention the Buddha's wife, or the Bodhisattva's wife, before his awakening, because it's her birthday also. She was born the same day that he was, and she gave birth to his child, Rahula. So remembering her also as an important mother in the Buddha's life. And so appreciation for all of them. So then to bring in these various facets, I want to start with a sutta, or a set of suttas that are sort of purely about the awakening, and that give that in sort of a crystallized form. These are the suttas, the first three suttas of the Udana. The Udana is a collection of texts from the Pali Canon in the Khuddaka Nikaya. And in this collection, each Udana has a verse that is something that was sort of a spontaneous exclamation of the Buddha on some sort of occasion, a notable occasion. He would give an explanation in verse. And then there's also a connected story or prose that tells what was the occasion on which he was inspired to say this utterance. So they're called inspired utterances, or I think Bhante Sujato says heartfelt sayings, something like that is the Udana. So the first three Udanas, the first three suttas in this collection, are what he had said immediately after his awakening. So before he had begun to teach, even just what was it that he felt inspired by heart to say at that time. So I'm going to start with those three. Just a moment while I get the screen up. Okay. All right. So in this sutta, the Buddha is already awakened. I'll just read the sutta. I won't tell you because the sutta tells you. So I have heard. At one time, when he was first awakened, the Buddha was staying in Uruvela at the root of the tree of awakening on the bank of the Naranjara River. So he has just woken up, he's just had his battle with Mara, he's just had his great insights, and he's still sitting there. He has not yet moved from that place. There the Buddha sat cross-legged for 7 days, without moving, experiencing the bliss of freedom. When 7 days had passed, the Buddha emerged from that state of immersion. In the first part of the night, he carefully applied the mind to dependent origination in forward order. When this exists, that is. Due to the arising of this, that arises. So this is the underlying principle behind all of dependent origination. When this exists, that is. Due to the arising of this, that arises. And then he gives specific examples of this in the classical list of the 12 links of dependent origination. Ignorance is a condition for choices. Choices are a condition for consciousness. Consciousness is a condition for name and form. Name and form are conditions for the 6 sense fields. The 6 sense fields are conditions for contact. Contact is a condition for feeling. Feeling is a condition for craving. Craving is a condition for grasping. Grasping is a condition for continued existence. Continued existence is a condition for rebirth. Rebirth is a condition for old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress to come to be. That is how this entire mass of suffering originates. Then, understanding this matter, on that occasion the Buddha expressed this heartfelt sentiment. When things become clear, to the keen, meditating Brahman, his doubts are dispelled, since he understands each thing and its cause. And this is one that we often chant. So I'll just chant this verse for you. Yada hawe patu pavanti dhamma atapino chayato brahmanassa athassa kanka vapayanti sabba yato pajanati sahetu dhammang. So he has seen dependent origination. It has become clear, and he has no more doubts. He has understanding. And then this is a joyful utterance for him. Um, oop, sorry? Okay. I think I just want to go straight through the first three. We've just seen how the entire mass of suffering originates. Where does this all come from? You've seen the cause. Okay, go to the next one. So I have heard. At one time when he was first awakened, the Buddha was staying at Uruvela at the root of the tree of awakening on the bank of the Naranjara River. So this is the same as before. He's still sitting there, still cross-legged for 7 days without moving. And then the last one he saw in the first part of the night. Now we're up to the second part of the night. In the second part of the night, he carefully applied the mind to dependent origination in reverse order. So this is the other side of the formula. When this doesn't exist, that is not. Due the cessation of this, that ceases. That is. When ignorance ceases, choices cease. When choices cease, consciousness ceases. When consciousness ceases, name and form cease. When name and form cease, the six sense fields cease. When the six sense fields cease, contact ceases. When contact ceases, feeling ceases. When feeling ceases, craving ceases. When craving ceases, grasping ceases. When grasping ceases, continued existence ceases. When continued existence ceases, rebirth ceases. When rebirth ceases, old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress cease. That is how this entire mass of suffering ceases. Then, understanding this matter on that occasion, the Buddha expressed this heartfelt sentiment. When things become clear, to the keen, meditating Brahman, his doubts are dispelled, since he's known the end of conditions. And we chant this one too. Yada hawe patu pavanti dhamma atapino chayato brahmanassa athassa kanka vapayanti sabba yato kayang paccayana avedi. So this is the other side, that there are causes for things to come to be, and when those causes are removed, then they cease. And this goes for the entire mass of suffering. Old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress can all cease. And this has become clear to the Buddha. Through his keen meditation, he has no more doubts. He knows the end of conditions. He knows the end of suffering fully for himself. And again, this is a joyful, heartfelt utterance on that occasion for him. And then the third sutta, same thing. He's still sitting there. And now we're up to the last watch of the night. In the last watch, he carefully applies the mind to dependent origination in forward and reverse order. When this exists, that is. Due to the arising of this, that arises. When this doesn't exist, that is not. Due to the cessation of this, that ceases. And then we go through the whole formula again. Ignorance is the condition for choices. Up to rebirth is a condition for old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress. That is how this entire mass of suffering originates. And then the reverse, when ignorance fades away and ceases with nothing left over, choices cease. down to when rebirth ceases, old age and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sadness, and distress cease. That is how this entire mass of suffering ceases. Then, understanding this matter, on that occasion, the Buddha expressed this heartfelt sentiment. When things become clear to the keen, meditating Brahmin, he remains scattering Mara's army as the sun lights up the sky. Yada vipatu bhavanti dhamma atapi no chayato brahmanasa vitupayanti tratimarasenang suryo va obhasayamantalikanti. So, Mara being death, the trickster, death, who has tried to prevent him from awakening, tried to prevent him from escaping. Now here he is meditating, and he sees that death is just fleeing from him like a scattered army as the sun comes up and dispels the darkness. So this is the Buddha's initial utterance, and these are famous. We chant these verses. Also, this formula of dependent origination is something that is frequently chanted, you know, on all sorts of occasions. We went to the Cambodian temple yesterday after our own Vesak ceremony, and they often chant this just before the mealtime each day. It's part of one of the things they chant as part of the meal blessing. And it's just very common, very frequent to chant this. But in a way, I think it's not a very approachable teaching. We're not in the same mindset as the Buddha sitting there under this tree all the time. And I don't really actually today want to go into all the details of dependent origination. This could be a many weeks long class and discussion session, or even lifetime inquiry into all of these details. But I want to open up here. Like, what does this teaching mean to you? Is it inspiring? Is it alien? Um, uh, is there something that you can take away from this? Or anyway, anything anyone wants to come in with right now, and then we'll welcoming anyone here in the sala with me also. Anyone? Yes, Mima, please.
Thank you, Aya. I don't know. I'm speechless when it comes to this because I love psychology. And when I first learned about what the Buddha discovered in the process of his life and practice, and then hearing it over that this is chanted, it's like I believe it needs to be chanted in order to be able to not so much learn it, but with a focused mind and concentration, be able to, because I've only caught a few of them, like when the mind makes contact with something and the kind of like the domino effects of then, it all sets up with Vedana and the emotion, and then it goes on and on. Never noticing that before coming to this path, and seeing how dependent origination, it happens so fast, and the end result is always dukkha if you don't catch it. So I'm just really impressed with what he did and what he discovered, even though it took like as many eons as it did. I think he did a lot of work for us to be able to benefit from all that he went through for us. So I'm very grateful for this teaching. Thank you, Aya.
Yeah, thank you. Indeed, yes. Oh, okay. I'll go straight to Karina then, but thank you. Let me please, Karina.
Yes, thank you for bringing these suttas up. And it's really nice to hear the chanting, especially. I don't know, it goes in a different way than the intellect. One thing it really just made me have a lot of appreciation for meditation. And it made me think of stream entry and how, doubt goes away with stream entry, and the very last lines how doubt goes away by being able to see how things end or how things come to be. So yeah, it was just inspirational and I don't know, it's kind of like it gives me a little tiny taste of like putting myself in the Buddha's skin kind of feeling like, oh, this is how you can use meditation. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I did. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Is everybody already familiar with this teaching? Is it new to anybody? No? Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I think, I'm asking that in part because I know that the first time that I heard this teaching, I found it actually quite alienating and not easy to connect with. This was obviously some years ago now. Um, I heard it from Ayasopana on my first time meeting any monastic in the forest at Aranya Bodhi. Ayasopana took us up to the stupa, just me and one other steward, and beautiful out on the hillside under the stupa in the evening with the sun going down in the forest, and she told us about dependent origination, and I'd never heard it before. And I was like, what is this? I'm in a beautiful location. I'm inspired by so many things about this situation, but this teaching is just, I don't quite even know what to make of it. I think I appreciate what Mima said. Absolutely. There is that part in the middle there that we can see in our own experience from the contact leading to feeling and feeling leading to craving and all of that coming to be together. Um, and so that part is very, I found personally easy to connect with and see from the beginning. And that part is sort of is inspiring, but then to see how that connects to the bigger picture of life and rebirth and death and all of that um, was not something that I found easy to connect with at the beginning. But yeah, I think I also appreciate, you know, what both of you said about finding the chanting helpful, that things can sort of go in a way into your heart if you're chanting them regularly. And they can kind of get under your skin and you find yourself just like chanting in your head sometimes this thing. And even if you don't quite know what it is, still it's in there in a way. And then it has the opportunity to like pop up and be ready and be seen um, when the right occasion for that arises. Uh, so yeah, this one, the dependent origination is one that can be fun to chant. Uh, it's you got some real power to that one sometimes. Chintana.
I'll bring up how yesterday, when I took 8 precepts and I was getting ready to leave, I'm like, Aya, what should I be studying? And Ayasovana suggested that I start, studying the dependent origination, and I felt kind of like my face probably went white, whiter, because I like how what you just described. I mean, it puts you off. It's like you start to get it, you think, and then like maybe the next day or the next time you listen to the Dhamma, it's like I don't understand at all. So I was yeah, I've got my work cut out for me. I just wanted to bring that up. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I think, we can be encouraged actually that even for the Buddha, even after his awakening, it still took him 7 days of solid meditation to see it all very clearly. Um, this is the result of his complete liberation and 7 days of extremely intensive, constant meditation in fully immersed samadhi. And then he was able to see all the little links along the way. So, you know, then we've got our work cut out for us, but also he's pointed this out for us to look at and begin to contemplate. Yeah, let's see. Sorry, I had some other point I was going to say, but it's just escaped me. So, yeah. So anyway, this is what the Buddha himself said upon his awakening. What was it that became clear to him? What did he understand? And this is in a way the core of his teaching. He says in other places that if you see dependent origination, you see the Dhamma. If you see the Dhamma, you see dependent origination. And I think he formulates it in different ways in different places. I think, sometimes we also think of the Four Noble Truths as the core of the Dhamma. And I think they're actually the same teaching, is point, dependent origination. It's about how things come to be. And the Four Noble Truths are too. It's about how things come to be and how they can cease. It's Four Noble Truths is how does that there is suffering, that it has a cause, that it can end, and that there's a way that that ending can come about. And that is the understanding of how that can come about is very, very much the same teaching as dependent origination, just in one specific or maybe simplified instance of it. So this is the core of what we should understand, but it's also sort of the end goal, not necessarily something that we're going to understand already. There's another sutta where the Venerable Ananda comes to the Buddha and says, "Oh, this dependent origination looks deep, but for me it's so clear, I can see so clearly." And at this point, Venerable Ananda is a stream enterer, but he's not an arahant. And the Buddha says to him, "Ananda, don't say that. Don't say it's so clear to you. It looks deep and it is deep." And Buddha knew that Ananda had further to go at that time, and didn't want him to get ahead of himself in thinking he had fully seen it, even though in his meditations some of it was beginning to become clear to him, and even though he was a stream enterer and knew some aspect of this, knew at least the noble truths, that there was a beginning and there was an end and there was a path. He knew that. But the specifics of the 12 links, the Buddha tells him, don't say that. It's deep. It's hard to comprehend. So okay, I want to, unless there's more comments here, then I want to switch gears and look at another facet of the Enlightenment story. We'll hold this one in mind, as this is, in a way, the core of it. But for the things that we don't see clearly yet, then maybe if we look at it through another lens, we can begin to see more clearly. Okay. So I'm going to switch over to, let's see, let me get it on the screen here. Just a moment. Where I want to start. Okay. All right. So I'm over here. I am in Majjhima Nikaya 123. This sutta is called Incredible and Amazing. And actually, 2 years ago for Vesak, I led a whole sutta study on this sutta. So if anyone wants to go back and see more of the sutta, we'll do an abbreviated version today. But on our YouTube, we have the Incredible and Amazing Sutta, whole sutta study on that. So in this sutta, the Buddha's disciples have been sitting around talking about the incredible qualities of the Buddha. The Buddha comes in and he says, "Oh, what conversation did I interrupt?" And they tell him, "Oh, we were talking about you." And he says, "Oh, well, continue. Yes, please." Actually, he says to Ananda, "Please tell me, what have you heard about me? What are these incredible qualities?" Ah, Okay. Karina, I cannot see the sutta. Okay. Maybe I'm screen sharing the wrong thing. Just a moment. Too many windows open. Okay. I can see now? Okay. So in this sutta about the incredible and amazing qualities of the Buddha, it's one of the main places that describes his birth, actually in the suttas. There's a lot of legends and stories and things about the Buddha's birth that come from later texts, from commentaries and Jatakas and other sources. But this is actually a sutta in Majjhima Nikaya, and it's telling all these sort of amazing qualities about the birth of the Buddha. So starting with this. I have learned this in the presence of the Buddha, says Ananda. When the being intent on awakening, that is the bodhisattva, who's going to become the Buddha, when the being intent on awakening is conceived in his mother's belly, 4 godlings approach to guard the 4 quarters, so that no human or non-human or anyone at all shall harm the being intent on awakening, or his mother. This too I remember as an incredible quality of the Buddha. And he keeps going. When the being intent on awakening is conceived in his mother's belly, she becomes naturally ethical. She refrains from killing living creatures, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and beer, wine, and liquor intoxicants. So she naturally comes to follow the 5 precepts. This too I remember as an incredible quality of the Buddha. When the being intent on awakening is conceived in his mother's belly, she no longer feels sexual desire for men. She cannot be violated by a man of lustful intent. When the being intent on awakening is conceived in his mother's belly, she obtains the 5 kinds of sensual stimulation and amuses herself, supplied and provided with them. When the being intent on awakening is conceived in his mother's belly, no afflictions beset her. She's happy and free of bodily fatigue. And she sees the being intent on awakening in her womb, whole in his major and minor limbs, not deficient in any faculty. There's this metaphor that it's like seeing a gem with the facets, as I was talking about earlier. So I was using that metaphor earlier to talk about the different ways that we can see the Dhamma through different facets, like one gem that you turn and it catches the light in different ways. And what occurs to me here is that, this is what she's giving birth to. She's giving birth to the Dhamma. She's giving birth to this being who is, going to be awakened. It's like she's giving birth to awakening itself, and she can sort of feel it coming. She can see the beauty of it and the perfection of it, and again, no afflictions beset her. She's happy and free of bodily fatigue. And, I think these are qualities of awakening. If you're awakened, then there's no affliction that can beset you from anywhere. And so during this time, again, this awakening is coming into the world through her. But then, so she's happy. She's having a good time. She's pure and ethical in her behavior. But then 7 days after the being intent on awakening is born, his mother passes away and is reborn in the host of joyful gods. So, this is part of the Dhamma also, that there is passing away. That these things come and go. Humans come and go, mothers do, children do. And in this case, she's reborn in the host of joyful gods. So she goes to the Tusita heaven, which is a nice place to be. She's not having major afflictions there. But she is also not free of this round of samsara there yet. Anyway, we go on to the birth itself. So she gives birth after exactly 10 months, not 9, not less. Predictable. Gives birth standing up, holding onto a tree branch in the way it's traditionally depicted. When the baby emerges, the gods catch him. Before he reaches his ground, they receive him and put him before his mother, saying, "Rejoice, O queen, an illustrious son is born to you." He emerges already clean, unsoiled by waters, mucus, blood, or any kind of impurity, pure and clean. And even though he's already clean, 2 showers of water appear from the sky, one cool, one warm, for bathing the being intent on awakening and his mother. And then he stands up. Being intent on awakening stands firm with his own feet on the ground. Facing north, he takes 7 strides with a white parasol held above him, surveys all quarters, and makes this dramatic proclamation: "I am the foremost in the world. I am the eldest in the world. I am the first in the world. This is my last rebirth. Now there'll be no more future lives." And so again, this is the depiction. He's standing with his arm up. Yes, I'm number 1. And so this is coming directly from the suttas, making that declaration. Bhante Sujato has a note here saying that this passage implies that Buddhahood was destined from the time of birth, but this actually stands in contrast to the rest of the suttas, where Buddhahood was hard won by the Bodhisattva's efforts while striving for awakening. So just noting that there are, again, different facets, different ways this story is told on this occasion. Those who were here last week, remember Richard had brought up this sort of differences in the different texts and how he feels like the earliest texts are different from this story that we're reading here in this sutta. But, the sutta is here also. So looking through these different lenses at this quality of awakening. Anyway, so, okay, an immeasurable light appears in the world. There's an earthquake, and so forth. Many miraculous things are happening at the time of this birth. And then, this is the end of what Ananda says about the amazing and incredible qualities of the Buddha. But the Buddha wants to add one at the end, after Ananda has listed these various miracles about the birth. And so the Buddha adds the greatest miracle of all. Well, he doesn't actually say it's the greatest of all. He just says it's also an incredible and amazing quality. Well then, Ananda, you should also remember this as an incredible and amazing quality of the realized one. It's that the realized one knows feelings as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. He knows perceptions as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. He knows thoughts as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. This too you should remember as an incredible and amazing quality of the realized one. Ananda repeats, "Sir, the Buddha knows feelings as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. He knows perceptions as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. He knows thoughts as they arise, as they remain, and as they go away. This too I remember as an incredible and amazing quality of the Buddha." That's what Ananda said, and the teacher approved. Satisfied, those mendicants approved what Venerable Ananda said. So I like this. For the Buddha, he's very clear. This is bringing it back to, I think, dependent origination again. He knows things as they arise, as they go away, and how that comes to be. And that this, again, harking back to his own awakening and his heartfelt utterances about seeing this clearly, how things arise and how they pass away. That this is the miraculous thing for him, and all these other things are He doesn't deny them. He doesn't say that's wrong. He doesn't say don't pay any attention. But he wants to add this greatest or final miracle of just being able to see clearly dependent origination. So, again, I want to pause here and see how this strikes everybody. Also want to, this is, of course, one of those inspired by the Buddha's mother, Mahamaya, and this is one of the places where she appears in the suttas. So, appreciating her. She'll be coming up in a few of them. So this is, yeah, I guess I just feel like it's very, again, stylistically different. The previous one was not about miracles of this type, and was not about, his family relationships in any way. He'd sort of stepped out of all of that. But here we have this sort of mother-child relationship. Yes, Chintana.
It strikes me as surprising that Mahaya passed away in 7 days, because we hear about how healthy and vibrant she was. And then all of a sudden, boom, she's dead. But, maybe that was good for her, because life is difficult. So maybe that was almost here's your reward. You can, go to a different place now. I don't know, but it is surprising that she died when, it seems like everything was going so well for her in the birth of Buddha. So your comments on that?
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. And I don't have exactly like an answer to why is it like that. It is, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of pointing at, this is just my own interpretation here. It's like it's pointing at the fly in the ointment. That there's this so much beautiful going on in this life. For this mother who's about to give birth and having this most wonderful, amazing, beautiful pregnancy experience, and gives birth to this wonderful child. But still, there's the fly in the ointment of death being part of this life, which I think is very much in line with the Buddha's teachings, that there's not really any way out except through awakening. So that's one thing that I reflect on. Some of the other texts do say that this is the case for not just our Gotama Buddha, but actually all the Buddhas of all eons, that that their mothers pass away after 7 days, and that's just what happens with Buddhas. And I don't know what to say about that really, other than just to contemplate it. It's one of those things, I think, that sort of goes to the heart more than the mind. It can be sort of thought of on that level, but I'm interested in if anyone else has ideas or thoughts about that. Ananea.
Well, I agree with what you have said, Aya. And it is a reality. You can be a woman not carrying the Buddha, have a perfect pregnancy, and still have complications that arise and you die. That's a human reality. Now, in this case, it is specific to all the Buddhas. I mean, it's a specific manner and means and whatever. It's we can't obviously can't put her in the category of an ordinary person's experience, because it was extraordinary. So whether all of that occurred literally the exact way that they said, we're just taking that as a matter of faith, that we can't logically figure that part out, or why would it be this way or that way. This is obviously an extraordinary kind of a thing. One other minor thing that I don't hear this mentioned much, but to me it made between his mother Maya, Mahamaya, who dies, and then being actually cared for and reared by his aunt, in that culture at that time, the king married those two sisters. They were not like, oh, she was just the backup and the aunt and then came in the picture. They were married together. And it turns out that Maya had the karma and the agreements and whatever was involved with actually the one who gives birth or gave birth to the Buddha. So yeah, so one of its part of its karma, and I'm sure a large part is karma, but it is also the frailty that of any woman who gives birth, actually, in a more physical sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. Okay. So I see a hand here. Also, we have hands from Karina and Mima, and then I'll go to Venerable Tavira after that. Karina. Oh, and yes, Karina, please go ahead.
Yes, hi. Thank you. I really have two things to say. One, I guess, is in response to your question, how I understand this or how I'm pulling it in now. And for me, really, it's the sutta. I don't take it literally. I take it as just reverence for the Buddha. And if you have reverence for this being, then yeah, he's born completely clean and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because the focus is on revering the Buddha, it's not on revering the mother. And for me, that's why it's congruent, or the incongruency of like being perfectly healthy, no bodily fatigue, and then you die in 7 days. Although I know, medically that can also be very real. Yeah, I think if the focus was on revering the mother, it might be a different sutta.
Mm.
There's something you said that makes me, I don't know, what's the word? Just have like a deeper feeling. You said she gave birth to the Dhamma. And that, I don't know, that just really touched me. Like I was like, that's no small thing,
Right.
not anyone can hold that, can give birth to the Dhamma.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the other thing, I think I'll say it later, maybe when it's more appropriate. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Yeah, we'll go to Mima and then Venerable Tavira.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on what Karina just said, because what came up for me when you asked that question was that it may have diverted attention from the Buddha to the mother. Like if we look in Catholicism with the Virgin Mary, and in the Mexican culture, La Virgen de Guadalupe, they take that type of praise. And the other thing that caught my attention that was mentioned specifically was that she carried the Buddha for 10 months, which is unusual and may have taken a toll naturally on the human body, where she wasn't able to continue, because I mean that takes a lot just to carry another life. So that was something that stood out for me as well. I feel like mission was accomplished and you can go now. Oh, thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you. All right, let's go to Venerable Tavira.
I appreciate about this sutta, like that contrast that Venerable Kaccayana mentioned between, we have these suttas that talk about this kind of enormous universe-shaking impact of this being coming into the world, and it talks about like light filling all realms and, earthquakes and all beings in all realms, seeing and rejoicing and there's this sense of like, this is such a great being that is just an impact on absolutely everything. But then to have that come down to, the insight that enables that is just this incredibly intimate seeing of what's arising and passing right here, right now. And kind of like saying like, okay, like what does it mean to actually have, an insight into something that feels like, oh, I see feelings arise and pass, but like, what does it mean to see them deeply enough that it is that transformative, that it has that enormous impact? So yeah, just appreciating that contrast and kind of that contemplation of, you know, continuing to hold out that like even this thing that feels so, it sounds so simple, that like to really thoroughly see it would be this incredibly transformative thing.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Great. And I think, yeah, that is basically what the Buddha's pointing at here. And appreciate him sort of redirecting from the earth-shaking things to the really earth-shaking thing that is this very small seeing, as you say. Karina, you have a hand again, or is that the same hand as before? Okay.
No, that was the second thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Has to do with that exactly. Ayatavira. Yeah, there's this other sutta, I don't remember it exactly, but just about like how to create merit or something like that. You know, it's like, oh, you know, you can feed all the monastics in one monastery, and then no, you could feed all the monastics in 10 monasteries and bring elephants, and it just kept upping the ante until it got to be like, okay.
Right. Tavira says, please don't bring us elephants.
Yeah, I can't remember it exactly, but it's just like more and more riches. And then at one, you're funny. And then at one point, if I remember correctly, like the Buddha comes in and says, no, actually, the best merit you could do is to practice the Dhamma.
Mhm.
So again, it's that contrast kind of thing. And that's sort of what that last line reminded me of. It's like the most incredible, I guess it wasn't a comparison, like you said, but also an acknowledgement of something incredible and amazing. It was, yeah, to see the arising and passing away of things,
Mhm.
to practice the Dhamma. And I think about that as a way to inform my life a little bit sometimes. I'm like, oh, I could go do this thing, I could go do that thing and develop this. I'm like, no, wait a minute, one of the most incredible things I could do is just meditating.
Hey, thank you. And thank you, Chintina, for sending us elephants in the chat. Um, that's a lot of elephants. Okay, Venerable Tavira accepts that kind of elephants, but you know, please don't bring us the real ones. Um, yeah, okay. All right, well, any further comments here, or shall I go to our next sutta on our guided tour here of the, what did I say? All right, let's go to the next sutta. So this is, there's actually more than one version of the story of what were the first things the Buddha said after his awakening. One is what we saw before, with these things about doubts vanishing when he sees what has a cause. And then here in the Dhammapada, we have two verses that also are reputed to have been the first thing he said after his awakening. So we actually, one day a week, we chant all three of these together here. And I don't know if even the people here know why they're all together, but we chant dependent origination and these verses here and the other ones all together every Wednesday on page 32 in our chanting book. Anyway, I'll read this one. This is Dhammapada verses 153 and 154. Wandering through many lives, seeking but not finding the builder of this house, repeatedly experiencing the suffering of birth. House builder, you have been seen. You will build no house again. All your rafters are broken, the roof peak dismantled. The mind has gone to the unconditioned. The elimination of craving has been reached. And I'll chant this one too. Aneka jati sangsarang sandhavisang anibbisang kahakarakang gawe santo dukkha jati punapunang gahakaraka dittosi punagehang nakahasi Sabate pasuka bhagga gahakutang visankargatang chittang tanhanang kayamajjaga. So this one, I guess, so this thing about the suffering of birth, put in the context of Mother's Day, like, of course, there is suffering and pain in birth, and we've just seen even the mother can pass away, which is, of course, you know, that's a very painful thing. But I think this is not pointing only to that. This is pointing to the suffering of coming into the world at all, and having a birth at all, even one that goes smoothly and leads to a fortunate life of some sort, still experiencing the suffering of birth through many lives. And just thinking, oh, can I say this to my mother on Mother's Day? Um, again, hi, Mom, if you're watching. Um, yeah. So, and then I'm saying, okay, house builder, you've been seen. You will build no house again. Your rafters are broken. The roof be dismantled. The mind has gone to the unconditioned. So it's about sort of stepping out of this whole life and death thing, this whole birth thing, this whole, he's already left home, left his family, stepped out of social roles of all sorts, is just sitting under this tree alone and rejoicing, rejoicing in this. And of course, again, this is a deep insight and it's a joyful one, but it's also one that could feel alienating to somebody again. Like I felt, not connected with the dependent origination teachings at first. And this one also is something that sometimes people, especially when they're new to Buddhism, might not think, oh, birth is suffering and let's not have any more births. It's something that, one of those things that sounds very negative to people when they're first introduced to it, at least, depending on what background they've come from before then. And so, both to see the celebration here and also to sort of think about how that fits together with the rest of life. So I want to ask again, like, just how does this strike you? What does it bring up for you to read and hear this? Ready? Marina, yes, please. All right.
Hi. Um, I'm holding your initial reaction. I can't remember my initial reaction, but I know my reaction now is it brings up refreshment, sense of refreshment, because it's just it's a good reminder. It goes really against the stream of our modern culture of like, no, wait, no, if you make a little more money, things could really be good. Usually, along those lines. And it's like, no, I love reading biographies or hearing biographies more and about just how much hardship even the most successful people have felt, how much, you can't avoid suffering, despite what idea I might have in my head. So, I've shared a little bit of this with my mother, and it's that's been her reaction as well. It's like, oh, okay, someone's acknowledging the suffering that's always there, that's inherent. So that's my reaction.
Thank you. Ananea.
Well, prior to becoming Buddhist, I had accepted the idea of reincarnation for years before that. But once I became Buddhist and came to understand rebirth, I was really relieved. It's just like, oh, there really is an end to this endless stream of ups and downs and good and evil and etc. So in fact, I have to say for myself, I know you've expressed that in the beginning it was difficult concepts, but when you read the sutras and you read, it's like it's spelled, the Buddha spelled it right out. It's like, that is what he's talking about. It is irrefutable that that's what he said. I guess maybe secularists can weave it around or do something and not focus on that part, but I find that it's so central to the whole. Well, it's central to the Dhamma. So I just accept that. It made sense to me after all that other dipping into other kinds of things that this made sense to me. So that doesn't mean I completely on a very deep inner level understand dependent origination. I'm still not quite there yet, but I do. I get the steps, I get the process, and working on becoming cognizant of that really deeply in everyday experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Great. Karina, do you have another comment, or is your hand just still up?
Just still up, sorry.
Okay. All right. I want to go to our next sutta, unless there's anything else urgent now. Oh, Mima, yes.
Thank you, Aya. I liked and I appreciated how he went through all of the dependent origination. But then in this last part that you read, where he talked about that he knows about feelings, perceptions, and thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that for me, my work is, or the practice is, to know when I'm caught in an emotion, that when I am projecting onto somebody what's inside of me and not really looking at what's going on in me. So I feel like that part of it where it's broken down like that, it's so fine, like it's so fine, so minute, but yet so major if I don't catch it. Because I can get tangled in stuff really easily and not know that I'm caught. So
Yeah.
I appreciate his work. Thank you, Aya.
Right. Yeah. So that's the house builder. And the way you end that work is through seeing the house builder. But yeah, it's a subtle thing that we do again and again. So, yeah, amazing that we can. Okay. So I want to go to the next sutta. This one I found just by actually searching Maya, the Buddha's mother's name in Sutta Central. I was looking for wherever she shows up because she actually doesn't appear that much. She's this sort of mysterious behind the scenes figure who disappears early and is just like a beautiful memory. But I found this one, and it's, I don't know. Anyway, I just would like to share this one because I think it's sort of embedding the Buddha in his context, in his family context, and in his life context, and sort of demonstrating something about how it all fits together, how the awakening can fit into the world in a beautiful way, and inspire others. So this is a verse from the Theragatha. That's the verses of the elder monks, the bhikkhus. And it's the verses of Kaludayi Thera. And Kaludayi is, he's a Shakyan. He's one of the relatives of the Buddha. He's became the chief minister of the Buddha's father, the king. Kaludayan, I think he's a cousin or something of the Buddha, and he was actually also born the same day. He's one of the co-natals of the Buddha. So the Buddha was born at the same day as his wife Yasodhara, and also his horse Kantaka and the Bodhi tree. And there's seven. I don't actually. Yeah, Chana, the groom. Anyway, there are seven co-natals of the Buddha, and Kaludayan is one of them, and he's the Buddha's cousin who becomes the chief minister. And so the story goes that after the Buddha's awakening, they got word of this back home in his home city of Kapilavatthu, and they started sending messengers to the Buddha to tell him, come back home. The king sent the messengers, and the messengers would go to the Buddha, and then they were also inspired that they were becoming bhikkhus, and then they weren't going back home. So the Buddha's father Suddhodana kept sending messengers. Like they kept not coming back. So he said, "Okay, Kaludayan, you're my chief minister. Please go do this great mission for me." And Kaludayan said, "Okay, I will, as long as you let me go forth afterwards. I will convince the Buddha to come home, but you have to let me go forth after." So this is Kaludayan's verses when he did go forth and become a great bhikkhu later on. But this is sort of telling the story of his going to find the Buddha and bring him home. So he's speaking to the Buddha here before he has gone forth, when he's still the chief minister. And he's gone from Kapilavatthu in the west to Rajagaha in the southeast. And he says, "The trees are now crimson, Venerable Sir. They've shed their foliage and are ready to fruit. They're splendid as if aflame. Great hero, this season is full of flavor. The blossoming trees are delightful, wafting their scent all around in all directions. They've shed their leaves and wish to fruit. Hero, it is time to depart from here." Again, speaking to the Buddha, "Please come home. Time to depart. It is neither too hot nor too cold. Venerable Sir, it's a pleasant season for traveling. Let the Sakyans and Kolyans see you, heading west across the Rohini River." The Sakyans and Kolyans are the two sides of his family, his father's side and his mother's side. In hope, the field is plowed. The seed is sown in hope. In hope, merchants travel the seas, carrying rich cargoes. The hope that I stand for, may it succeed. Again and again they sow the seed. Again and again the King of the heavens sends rain. Again and again farmers plow the field. Again and again grain is produced for the nation. Again and again the beggars wander. Again and again the donors give. Again and again when the donors have given, again and again they take their place in heaven. A hero of vast wisdom purifies 7 generations of the family in which they're born. Sakya, I believe you are the king of kings, since you fathered the one who is truly called a sage. And here he's speaking to the Buddha's father, Suddhodana, who's known as the Sakyan. He's the king of the Sakyas. So he's speaking to his master, the king. I believe you're the king of kings, since you fathered the one who is truly called a sage. The father of the great seer is named Suddhodana. The Buddha's mother is named Maya. Having borne the Bodhisattva in her belly, she rejoices in the 3rd heaven. When she died and passed away from here, she was blessed with heavenly sensual pleasures. Enjoying the 5 kinds of sensual stimulation, Gotami is surrounded by those hosts of gods. I'm the son of the Buddha, the incomparable Angirasa, the unaffected, the bearer of the unbearable. You, Sakya, are my father's father. Gotama, you are my grandfather in the Dhamma. So he's speaking both to his master, the king, and to his teacher, the Buddha. And remembering, all of these farmers sowing the seeds in hope for the next harvest. Everyone giving offerings, everyone doing these things out of their best hope for the world. You know, this king and this queen giving life to this child who goes forth. And he himself, you know, going out to find the Buddha and bring him home, you know, going in hope that there is something, something good to be gained from that. Uh, and I think, you know, he's at some stage of awakening here, or I think he becomes awakened at some point. He says, "I'm a son of the Buddha," which often they'll say after they're at least a stream enterer. The unaffected, the bearer of the unbearable. And then speaking of the Buddha as his father, giving him a new birth in the Dhamma. And, you know, the Sakya, the king Suddhodana, being the grandfather then. And yeah, I had never read this before. And again, I just found it because it mentions Maya, and I was searching for suttas about Maya. And again, this isn't exactly about her, but it's about the Buddha in his context. That he is not separate from this family and this country and all of those hopes, but that he's actually connected with that, and that what he's found is something of value to come back to them later. You know, again, like the giving birth to the Dhamma that's come from this country and this place and this time and this family. And then his mother, yes, she's gone to heaven. She's remembered again here. So I just wanted to share that one because it was new to me and I liked it. I want to check if anyone has anything else, anything to add about this, anything that strikes you or you'd like to share or ask. No? Okay. All right. Then I have one very brief thing to share, and then I want to talk about the Buddha's other mother a little bit, because I think she also sort of exemplifies these same themes in a way. Okay. So, I want to talk, you know, again, I was looking for suttas about the Buddha's mother, Maya, and I found her here in it's in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, but it's from the Chinese parallel to that. It's from the Dirgha Agama version of the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. So again, the Parinibbana is one of the three great events that we're celebrating today on Vesak. The Buddha's passing away, going out of this world. And Maya is appearing here. After the Buddha has passed away, then there are eulogies. You know, after he passes away, there's the great earthquake, there's the shower of flowers, and then there are eulogies to the Buddha from the god Brahma and Saka, and you know, great monks, great kings, the Venerable Ananda. They're all sharing verses on this occasion, and his mother is appearing here. So again, she's gone to the Tusita heaven. She's a deva, and she's coming down and speaking this verse. So just to say that she's there throughout, at least in this Chinese parallel version. So I'll just read her verse. The Buddha was born in Lumbini Park, and his path was wide and flowing. He returned to his homeland and discarded this impermanent body forever. So, again, sort of, if we think about mothers and children, what a thing for a mother to say. He discarded this impermanent body forever. Say in eulogy, and no, just something. I don't know. Again, I'm just sort of offering this for your reflection and to see how it comes up in your heart. Anything anyone would like to share here? Or shall I go for the last few minutes for our Mahapajapati Gotami, his other mother, who also became a fully awakened one whereas Maya here has not yet. Okay, I'm going to go then to the Buddha's other mother, his aunt, Maya's sister, Mahapajapati, who raised him after Maya's death and became the first bhikkhuni. And I'm reading here from her Theriapadana. This is the past life legends of the great female elders. And in this here, she is announcing her own parinibbana, that she's going to be, that she has become fully awakened. This is at the end of her life of 120 years. She's become a great teacher and leader of the bhikkhunis, subsequent to, the Buddha coming home, when Kaludayi went to bring him home, and then she attained stream entry during his first visit there, and then a few years later went forth as a bhikkhuni and became an arahant. And now it's, another few decades after that, and she's ready to pass away. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. Let me find where it is. So she's in this sutta, she's decided that it's time for her parinibbana, and she's going to go to the Buddha and ask him for permission to go forth into her parinibbana. So she goes to the Buddha and she says to him, "Well gone one, I am your mother, and you are my father. Hero, Lord, who gives the good teachings joy. O Gotama, I'm born from you. Your body made of flesh and bones was reared up by me, well gone one. My flawless body made of truth was reared up by you, Gotama. I suckled you with mother's milk, which quenches thirst for a moment. From you I drank the milk of truth, peaceful, without interruption. Great sage, you owe no debt to me for protecting and rearing you. To obtain such a son is what women desiring sons desire. Women can easily obtain the name King's Mother or Chief Queen. The name Mother of the Buddha is the hardest name to obtain." Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. Here we are. So she says to him, again, speaking as an awakened one here, "Formerly my eyes and ears weren't satisfied by the vision of you, nor hearing your speech. But now, having obtained perfection, my mind is satisfied by the taste of the teaching." So, this is a mother's way to want to see the children, to want to be close to them. But she's still full of love here. She's saying all these wonderful things about the Buddha. She's not disconnected, but she's satisfied. She's come to sort of a satisfaction in another way through seeing the teaching. Gonna keep going down here. Okay, and then she tells a story here. Once when he was preaching Dhamma, the chief leader of the world sneezed. He's talking about the Buddha. At that time, compassionately, I spoke will-wishing words to him. "Live for a long time, great hero. Remain for an eon, great sage. For the sake of the entire world, do not grow old, nor pass away." And I think here she's speaking about a time before her awakening. The Buddha then said this to me, who had spoken to him like that: "Buddhas are not to be worshipped as you're worshipping Gotami. How then, O one with omniscience, should thus gone ones be worshipped? How should Buddhas not be worshipped? Being asked, tell all that to me." And he says, "See my followers united, vigorously energetic, constantly firm in their effort. That is worship of the Buddhas." Then she goes off alone and says, "Well then, I'll reach full nirvana Let me see no hindrance to that. So she asks his permission, and she goes forth. She goes out like stars at dawn, it says. She goes out with miracles even. She displays her psychic powers and then passes away. And I want to come down to the bottom where after her miraculous passing away, the Buddha speaks of her, gives her a eulogy. So sorry, scrolling down here. It's quite a lot here. Okay, so she's passed away. She's been cremated with great ceremony. And then Ananda, urged by the Buddha, placed Gotami's sacred relics in her begging bowl at that time and presented them to the Lord. So Ananda is giving, the body of this mother in the bowl, in the alms bowl, and the Buddha is holding it. He's serving as son, the role of a son at a funeral for a mother. He's serving in that role. Again, not disconnected here. Taking them up with both his hands, the seventh sage, the Buddha said, just as the trunk of a standing giant timber-bearing tree, impermanent, breaks into pieces, however massive it may be, so Gotami, who was a nun, has reached her final nirvana. So comparing her to this great tree, passing away. Oh, it is a marvelous thing. My mother, who's reached nirvana, leaving only relics behind, did not grieve and was not wailing. Grieving not for others left, she's crossed the sea of existence. She's cooled. She's in nirvana. Her torment is now avoided. Know this about her, O you monks. She was a very wise woman, with wisdom which was vast and wide, distinguished among Buddhist nuns. And then he talks about her spiritual powers. A rod of iron that's beaten when it's glowing due to fire slowly cools off, leaving no ash. Like that, it's not known where she went. No rebirth place can be discerned of the truly liberated, who crossed the flood of lustful bonds, who've reached unshaking happiness. Therefore, be lamps unto yourselves. Graze in the field of mindfulness. With wisdom's 7 parts attained, you should all end your suffering. So, we don't have the Buddha's words upon the time of his own parinibbana, because he was gone at that point, not able to give an inspired utterance anymore. We have his words upon his first awakening, but no Udana for his own parinibbana. So I think we can take this as something like what he might say to describe that event of the parinibbana. And just, again, just tying it all together in this context with his life, with his family, with his mother, and all of them going together, all of them making a way for the Dhamma to come into the world and to come down to us. So I think, we're over time now. So I want to just see if there's any final comments from any of you. And then we can close with that. I think that's a pretty good place to stop. Yeah, so Karina said, thank you. You wouldn't have read these suttas otherwise. Yeah, me too. If I hadn't Googled Maya, I wouldn't have found a couple of these. So, so I appreciate having the assignment of making a Mother's Day Vesak program. Any other comments? Final thoughts? All right.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, thank you, Anaya. All right. So if no other thoughts, then we can close by paying our respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha.
There was a line at the end.
Oh,
Wisdom 7 parts attend.
yes, let me go back
Is
to
that what is it referring to? Is that 7 factors of awakening?
You know, that is a good question. I am not sure. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at what's there in the Pali, and I'm actually not sure about that one, but thank you for asking. I will. You can too. But yes, I mean, wisdom has a lot of parts. I'm not sure which 7 exactly they're pointing to, but it's a good question. Whatever it is, she attained all of them. And okay. Thank you for asking, and let's close here with our paying respects. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. The teachings so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Okay. Thank you all for joining.
Thank
Happy
you.
Vesak, happy
you,
Mother's
Maya.
Day.
Thank you. Sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay.